Matt LaFleur says he's going to play his starters against the Jets on Saturday despite injury risk. In fact, he says it would be a risk not to play them. He's right. I'll explain.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast to iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Matt LaFleur said he's going to play his starters a certain amount on Saturday night against the New York Jets, who are also going to play their starters. He said he'd like his guys to knock the rust off a little bit. He believes in that. He also cited something that made my eyebrows raise and my ears perk up. He said, according to his sources, that was his phrasing, that not playing in the preseason can actually increase overall the risk of injury. That the data said that. And I went, what data? Now, Matt LaFleur did not provide the data, so I went in search of the data. I know the data is everyone's favorite thing, right? Oh, let's talk about math. This is not that. I found a pair of studies that looked into NFL injury data and found significant increases in especially soft tissue injuries in 2020 compared to 2019. Well, what happened in 2020? We had a global pandemic and there was no preseason. And what we saw in the first month of that COVID 2020 season was a rash of injuries. In fact, you can go back and look, and one of the studies did this. I wrote about this today for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. That if you go back and look, in 2020, there were 141 injuries in week 1 of 2020. You look at 2016, 2018, and 2019, the highest year of week 1 injuries was 100. There were 141 in week 1 alone in 2020. Similar trends in the first month of the season where the numbers were significantly higher. And the conclusion from this pair of studies was there is a difference between playing in the preseason and playing in the regular season. No duh, right? But it is a tacit admission, or maybe a direct admission, that when you come to a preseason game, there is a risk in not being in, quote, football shape. This is an old truism. Regular shape is not football shape. But the difference between a preseason game and a regular season game is intensity. It's duration. Even if you play in the preseason, you're not going to play as much as you would in the regular season, and the intensity is not the same. Especially if you're a veteran, you're not going 100%. It's not quite Pro Bowl levels of effort, but it's less than regular season. The intensity is different. The stakes are different. Of course, the intensity is different. And the conclusion of these studies were that intensity put players at a higher added risk. And this makes sense, right? The ramp up period from a concussion, you have to build to getting back on the field. There's a ramp up period from a hamstring injury, from a broken leg, from any injury. You're going to ramp up into full levels of intensity. Why does it not make sense to do that for a sport where you're engaging in car crashes 50, 60 times a game? It makes sense to have 10 or 12 a couple times before you get to the regular season. It's the same reason that you need to run 10 miles before you can run a whole marathon. You can't just go out there. You can't just run a bunch in the offseason and say, well, I ran a lot. I'm good. No, it's not the same. Now, there is some subsequent studies that show, hey, actually, the injury data overall in 2021, 2022, those numbers came back down a little bit. Well, those seasons had preseasons. Now, we don't have the direct one-for-one player data. If they sat out, are they at a higher risk? If they played, are they at a lower risk? But the conclusion reached in these papers, published in scientific journals, they concluded it was a statistically significant difference. So when Matt LaFleur says, I think there's value in knocking the rust off, that's a separate question. Whereas the injury risk there is verifiable data, scientific evidence that suggests it makes sense to play your starters some certain amount of snaps. It's unclear if there's a magic number. I think this is all about your risk tolerance. Matt LaFleur said, it's about feeling where your team is. You have to have a feel for your team. Like last year, Jordan Love comes out, throws a 65-yard touchdown to Dontavian Wicks in the first preseason game, and we don't see him the rest of the preseason. Is that enough? Is a series enough? I mean, if we're going to follow the premise here, the answer is probably not. But that doesn't mean that there's not value. Matt LaFleur pointed out that in the preseason for the Packers, there's a night game, an afternoon game, and a late afternoon game. That is great preparation, mind, body, and soul, to get into the regular season habits. For young players, for rookies, just for everybody. Hey, remember what this is like? You have to get ready to prepare to play this violent, intense sport. Remember, this is how you do it, which is why when Matt LaFleur said earlier in the week, I want everyone to prepare like they're going to play, I kind of assumed what he meant was, I want everyone to take this week of practice seriously. I don't want the guys who we don't think are going to play to half-ass it. That's what I kind of assumed he meant. And then Jordan Love said, everyone has to feel like they're preparing to play. But then the next day, Matt LaFleur said specifically he wants his guys to play, including Jordan Love. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a similar thing to the Browns game. Remember, 2023, Jordan Love played a lot. He's supposed to be the guy. No, he wasn't the franchise quarterback yet. Last year, he gets that big deal. He plays one series. And maybe his lack of training camp contributed to that. I kind of doubt it. Matt LaFleur remembers what happened in 2021. He remembers 38-3 against the New Orleans Saints in Florida. He remembers that. I know you do too. He doesn't want that to happen. He thinks playing these guys in the preseason makes them better. And even if, and I made this point in the article, even if what Matt LaFleur did was go to his support staff and say, find me a stat that gives me a reason to tell these guys they're going to play in the preseason. Even if he did that, and I don't know if he did that, but even if he did, he would not be the first person to go find a stat to confirm priors, by the way. But even if he did that, there is compelling data out there. And so, yes, this is the rule of large numbers. It's like, well, 3 is more than 2 in the postseason. The Celtics, and the Bucks, they've lost playoff games. The Rockets to the Warriors famously lost playoff games continuing to shoot threes, even though the math says keep shooting threes. Well, in the aggregate, that's the right approach. But in the micro, sometimes it can hurt you. Sometimes you have Jordy Nelson go down in a preseason game. And it's like, well, why was he out there? Well, because the data says it makes sense to do it. Coaches are kind of in a no-win situation here. What's interesting is you watch Thursday night, Joe Burrow's out there. Jamar Chase is out there. Maybe that's the right move. They'd gotten off to slow starts. The Jets are going to play their guys. The Packers are going to play their guys. Maybe the league is going to get wise to this, and maybe the numbers will change if and when that happens. We'll see. Let's get excited about this game on Saturday night. What are the reasons for excitement? What do you want to watch for? We'll talk about that next on Locked On Packers. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Manage with your partner. Easier than ever. Full visibility so you can plan and build and grow together. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Packers are playing Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. If I'm playing fantasy football, you can bet I am playing at Yahoo Fantasy. Yahoo Fantasy is fantasy to me. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days through August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play Yahoo Fantasy, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's just one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. What are we excited about? What are we looking forward to with this team? Now that we have an understanding that Jordan Love is going to be out there, if Jordan Love is going to be out there, then Matthew Golden has to be out there. And frankly, I want to see Savion Williams out there with Jordan Love. That has to be at the top of the list, right? Those guys, that's what everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see Matthew Golden live in action in a real game. And don't be surprised. Remember last year was supposed to be the Wicks breakout year and they throw the touchdown on the first drive? Don't be surprised if they scheme something, call something for Matthew Golden. And not because it would be fan service, not because he was a first round pick, but because the Packers, there's a football reason to do it. They want every team that they play or could play to see something like that and go, oh, we got to defend that now. We got to figure out how to stop that thing. And that's just one more layer to the offense. There's football reasons to try and do that. Now, it can be dangerous to hunt for stuff like that, because then all of a sudden you're out of rhythm, or maybe you make a mistake being a little too aggressive. The stakes are low though. No one in the building anyway is going to freak out if the starting offense goes 3 and out against the Jets and doesn't play the rest of the game. No one's going to freak out. I am not going to freak out on the show. You have my word. I will not freak out on the show, and I can't wait for this clip to be used. Cut to me freaking out about a 3 and out or a Jordan Love interception or a fumble or something like that. I hope that does not happen. Everyone wants to see Matthew Golden, especially. And then if you could get some cool trick play, like Jaden Reed, play 2 plays, get out there, do some jet motion, don't even get a target, and then get Savion Williams in there doing cool stuff. I want to put the Savion Williams stuff on tape if I'm Matt LaFleur. Hey, here's another guy that I can just do bonkers stuff with. Sounds fun. Sounds cool. Let's do that. We talked yesterday about the players with the most to gain. It's not the same as the players I'm excited to see or that I want to watch, what to watch for. We talked about Jordan Morgan. I do think you have to watch Jordan Morgan. That's definitely one of those what to watch fors. But are you excited to watch that? I'm excited to watch Bo Melton play cornerback. I'm excited to watch Israel Abanikanda play running back. I'm excited to watch Luke Musgrave. How much does he play? Just keep an eye on that one. Because I'm telling you, it will be less than a second string tight end on most teams would play. And it's because he can be a real member of this offense, a real impactful player in this offense. I think 12 and 21 personnel can be, if not base, some core formations for this team this year. I'm excited to see the 5 or 6 plays that Edgerrin Cooper plays. We are lucky to get to watch that guy play football again because he's just wrecking training camp. The way he wrecked late season football last year for the Packers, he is a game wrecker. And it's exciting to see his development, to see if Lucas Van Ness can put things together. It's exciting to see these young secondary pieces against Justin Fields. Is Garrett Wilson going to play? How many snaps does he play? How do the Packers handle coverages? How much are they actually going to throw at these guys? Probably not much, right? The excitement here is really about the young players. Preseason is about the young players, the fringe roster players, the Tyron Hoppers. You know, Marshawn Lloyd sounds like he's working his way back, was actually doing some work off to the side yesterday at practice. That's good to see, but he's not going to be around for this game. That's why Abanikanda becomes the guy that you start to say, okay, could he make this team? Could he sneak his way onto this team? Bo Melton as cornerback 5, I guess, 4. Maybe he might be cornerback 4, depending on how you want to characterize Javon Bullard. It's like, it's Hobbs, it's Nixon, it's Valentine, and then after that, we're having a conversation. Bo Melton might be cornerback 4. So I've seen some good reps. It's a growth process. Max Melton saw a clip of him and you know, happily retweeted it. His brother, who actually plays corner. Bo said he's a better corner. We'll see. That's going to be exciting, though, to see him out there. And look, I'm always excited to watch Malik Willis in a preseason game. They're going to get to do some weird stuff. He's going to make some plays. He's going to make some throws. He's going to give Savion Williams and Malik Heath and McCole Hardman opportunities to make real plays. Speaking of guys that I want to see put some stuff on tape, McCole Hardman is one of them. Let's see some gadgety stuff with him and make teams go, we got to defend that now too. Oh, damn it. Like this offense, and I said this on Twitter yesterday. This was the 4th best offense by DVOA last year, with an injured quarterback and the highest drop rate in the league. They were neck and neck with Detroit, by the way. Buffalo and Baltimore were the only 2 teams ahead of that set of 2 teams. I would think there's some regression coming from the Ravens offense. They were historically good last year. Josh Allen was the MVP. Is he going to play at that level again? And the Lions are coming back with a new coordinator, a worse offensive line. I don't know. Like, the best offense in the league is out there for Green Bay. To get excited about that possibility, you want to see Matthew Golden make a couple plays, Savion Williams make a couple plays, a chunk play to Luke Musgrave, or one of those, something that says, hey, yeah, Tucker Kraft, this is going to be different this year for you. That'd be pretty cool. You don't have to show everything, obviously. You don't need to see a 30-point game from the starters. Like, that's not going to happen. But have Malik Willis out there again, throwing dimes, and have these backup receivers that we think are so good for backup receivers, making plays against the backups for the Jets. That's what you want to see. I think this Packers team, I've said it for 2 years now. Their superpower is their depth. So you want to see it in a game like this. You want to see them beat the brakes off the Jets, not just because the Jets are, a dog team, but like they're not as deep as Green Bay. So go out and show that. They're not as disciplined as Green Bay. So go out and show that. But this is all about the young players. I could have done everyone wants to see Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, and that could have been that. I didn't even mention Anthony Belton, who I'm personally really excited to see. Nazir Stackhouse, who I'm really excited to see in a game make an impact, even though he's not some like superstar pass rusher. I'm excited to see Barron Sorrell. Excited to see Brenton Cox. Dontavian Wicks is hurt. Xavier McKinney is hurt. Nate Hobbs is hurt. We're not going to see those guys. I want to see their backups play. I want to see what those guys can do. How do they trot out this first team defense without Xavier McKinney and Nate Hobbs? If it's base personnel, is Javon Bullard a safety or a corner? Those are interesting things. Are they the most important things? No, but they're interesting. Speaking of interesting, I am interested in what's going on with the New York Jets because the Packers play them. Now, we're not going to do a full crossover edition, but I had the opportunity to talk with our pal John Butchko from Locked On Jets for Locked On Sports today. I'll give you that interview next on Locked On Packers. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavors of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. You may be listening to this right now. I'm on the golf course, and I'm probably hoping to make a birdie, praying to make a birdie, and I probably need to focus a little bit more. And a beverage that could help me would be a miracle on the golf course, for at least for my golf game. Well, 5-Hour Energy can get you there. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. New York Jets head coach Aaron Glenn says the starters will play Saturday night at Lambeau Field. By the way, Coach Matt LaFleur saying also his starters will at least get some action, which means we will get ones versus ones as we open the Aaron Glenn era. John Butchko from Locked On Jets joins me now. And John, it's been an up and down camp by all accounts from Justin Fields, but this is a long-term move here to bring Aaron Glenn in. What do you want to see off the rip here for the Jets?
I think that you want to see competency. Now, I don't think that the first team is going to play all that long, but by all accounts, it's been, like you said, it's been an up and down training camp so far for Justin Fields. Jets are installing a new system. Justin Fields is getting used to, throwing to new teammates. I know he was Garrett Wilson's college quarterback, so the two of them worked together in the past. So, I think you want to see the team avoid big mistakes, but it is preseason. It is, this is preparation time. I don't think you should have sweeping conclusions based on a series or two. I think you just want to see them avoid big mistakes and execute the fundamentals.
Okay, so does that have to include the second and third teams, or is this just going to be like a vibes test, or how are you going to be measuring this?
I think that. I don't know how much the second and third teams matter aside from position battles and roster battles for guys who are like kind of at the last of the guys who are kind of like fighting to make the 53-man roster. I really feel, Peter, that we overanalyze what happens in these exhibition games. I think we've been without football for 8 months, so the first time we get actual game action, we tend to read way too much into what happens. I mean, I can give you a couple of examples. In 2019, Jets played the Giants their first preseason game. They stormed down the field and scored a touchdown. This was Adam Gase's first year. And for the rest of the preseason, we heard about how great the Jets offense was going to be. This was the Adam Gase Jets. 2021, 2 years later, Zach Wilson comes out his first preseason game, looks pretty competent in a couple of series. you start hearing in the New York media, the Jets have found their franchise quarterback. I don't think we ever look back on what happens in these exhibition games once we get to the regular season and remember anything that happened. So I think that, it's all about preparation. It's all about, getting ready for the season. So, you want to see, I think the Jets will probably run some of their staple plays. You'd like to see them run smoothly. If they don't, you have to remember that the exhibition season is it's preparing for the season. So if you mess something up, it's better to do it now than week one of the regular season. And that's actually one of the reasons I'm happy the Jets are playing their starters, because I think that we forget that as much as we obsess over the day-to-day of what's happening in training camp, and we talk about who's up and who's down, we have the daily stock report. This is really about getting ready for the season. And part of getting ready for the season means that, you clean up stuff that's not working well. I actually think if you look across the NFL, there's been an epidemic the last couple of years of really, really sloppy play the first week or two of the season. And
Yep.
I think part of that's, teams don't use this exhibition period to prepare their first teamers. And, part of it probably goes back to training camps, not being as intense as they used to in the past because, no more 2 days, hitting is down. So I really view this as just kind of preparation. I think it's best to avoid drawing sweeping conclusions based on a couple series and games where the teams aren't really game planning and trying to seek out the best matchups.
Okay. And by the way, I just on Locked On Packers today, we talked about the data with Matt LaFleur referencing a number of studies that suggest injuries are down when teams play in the preseason. That COVID year, there were a ton of injuries that first month of the year with no preseason play. With that in mind, John, does that mean you want to see Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and all those guys?
I think you have to find the right because I actually prior to that COVID year, I was of the mindset we should just get rid of the preseason because I was what's the point of it? And that COVID year, as you mentioned, there were a lot of injuries early in the season. Yeah. I don't think you want to see these guys play into the fourth quarter of these games because you do have to balance out the injury risk. You go back to 2019, that first Adam Gase preseason. The Jets actually lost a starting linebacker that year, Avery Williamson, during a preseason game in Atlanta, and everybody was all over Gase. And I actually thought that was kind of unfair. You have to remember though, and this will certainly resonate. The Jets lost their starting quarterback 4 plays in the first regular season game 2 years ago. So, injuries can happen at any point, just because you shut guys down. Aaron Rodgers played 1 series 2 years ago because the Jets were afraid of injury, and you get to the regular season, suffers an injury on the first offensive series. So I think that, you have to find the balance. I think that what I think is that the pendulum has probably swung too far in fear of guys getting injured, and you see teams that are just really unprepared to play week one. A lot of teams don't even have the dress rehearsal game where your starters play into the second half anymore. They used to be the third out of 4 games. Right. A lot of teams aren't doing that anymore, and I think that you get to the end of week one, the play is really not only is the play really sloppy, but you see guys are really tired by the end of the game because I always say this on Locked On Jets. There's a difference between being in good physical condition and being in good fit football shape.
Yep.
These guys in the NFL, they're all in phenomenal physical condition, but there's something about, the executing the fundamental techniques at your position, being able to absorb hits. These are the things that that I think as much as anything is what you're preparing for right now. And I think that teams, the challenge is whenever a player gets injured, the coach gets criticized. Why do you have your guys out there in an exhibition game? But these games exist to prepare for the season. And I don't think a lot of teams are really using it to prepare for the season anymore. I don't know if Sauce Gardner needs to play to be ready for the season, but I think I'd like to see my first team offensive line work together for a couple of series to kind of just, get the chemistry back again, understand how you're going to pass off a stunt. And I'd like to see the first team quarterback Justin Fields throw to his first team receivers, figure out how receivers going to run a certain routes, what depth he's going to run it out, what angle he's going to break at. So it's a balance. I don't want to see these guys play the entire game, but I think that I was actually pretty happy because I want to be consistent. I criticized Robert Saleh when he was the Jets head coach for never playing his starters in preseason. I felt it left the Jets at a disadvantage early in the regular season. So I was happy to see Glenn. Now, of course, somebody goes out and gets hurt Saturday night, Glenn's going to get criticized. But I think that it's a calculated risk, and I think that it's one that more teams should probably take.
Awesome to talk to John Butchko. Appreciate the time. He was gracious to talk to me from Europe. Must be nice. And it's Packers Jets on Saturday night. We will be live after the game. Live after the game on Saturday on our YouTube page. So go subscribe over there. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. The podcast will be in your feed after that. So go subscribe. Follow me on the social medias. Follow the podcast on the social medias. Again, YouTube is the place where we will be live. The Locked On Packers YouTube page. Go be there so you can stay Locked On Packers.